Alrighty, what's up everybody? RedJayHead here, doing a reaction video because I don't have a brain of my own, and it's very difficult to create content when you create content when you work 9 to 5. So this is gonna be a lazy fucking RedJayHead watches.
Work, like really work. That's probably irresponsible for me to say, but if we're going to talk about the steroid epidemic, we need to do it honestly.
Here's a 3-week trend cycle update for you guys.
Volume trend
That's
in
hot.
Thailand.
Okay, so here's the thing. Before I get started, actually, the thing is, I've been wanting to... Oh, hey, it's Hassan. This is a little bit... I just realized this is a little bit naked of me because you could see my recommended. Yikes. Okay, so... Like, I've been bodybuilding on and off for like 10 years. I know it doesn't show. And like, I was influenced by like certain people during YouTube, like even 10 years ago when like Matt Does Fitness was around, for example. I know, right? Imagine that name. And then obviously like real, like good influencers, like More Plates, More Dates, and Jeff Nippert, obviously I watch. There's also somebody else that I like to watch because he's Canadian. His name is Will Tennyson. And anyways, there was also another guy, Jeremy something. I think he's a Filipino bodybuilder influencer. And so, like, as somebody who's been lifting for so long, depending on how you do it and like how intensely you do it, you kind of like plateau, especially when it comes to like how much dedication and how much effort you can put into it when you're managing other things like relationships, 9 to 5s, stuff like that. And so for people like that, especially the ones that like don't see any more progress anymore, like I've found myself seeing in the past, like I've always wondered like how beautiful it would be to like actually take steroids, because this very much interests me and I could see myself like engaging in using steroids if there was 3 things that I didn't have to worry about. Number 1, having a family. Like obviously any person with like half a brain should be worried about like, you know, creating offspring when they're like taking these particular things, Trembolone and stuff like that. Like that's a big worry for me. There's this thing about hair loss, which like, you know, that's secondary. Like creating offspring is like very important to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people. So that would worry me first and foremost. Secondly, I'd be worried about like acne. Acne is like aesthetically speaking like very, very unfortunate if you're like engaging in things like these. And then I guess thirdly, there are so many things, but like my moods and how I would react around people, like that would be very, very like difficult and scary to involve myself in, if like, especially if you're a very like moody person and your like emotions fluctuate a lot. So anyways, this is awesome because like there didn't used to be talk about this back in the day, and now like it's just getting more and more interesting.
Steroids build muscle way faster than something like creatine.
Yeah.
Not even close.
That's the, like, even for me, for somebody, sorry, I shouldn't be pausing so much, but for somebody like me that like, I was even like worried about taking creatine like 6-7 years ago. I thought like creatine was like steroids. I didn't know much about it back then. But now I'm starting to understand a little bit more the value of creatine. And you know, when you realize that some of these supplements that like whey protein and creatine, like your body kind of already creates / utilizes at like a normal level. So when you realize that these supplements don't like, you know, drastically change things within your body compared to like Trembolone and stuff like that, then you start to, you know, realize the difference between one and the other. But it's very tiresome where you've been doing it for such a long time, and you know kind of the extent. At that point, the aesthetic doesn't really become the challenge. The challenge becomes what is the most efficient way to utilize my time without and while looking as best as I can natural. Like, do I need 6-7 days in the gym, or can I get away with 3, 4, 5 days in the gym? Which the answer is yes. and still look more or less as good as I do. So, you know, that's where things get, you know, interesting.
Started taking.
Anyways, let's see. I'm very interested in what these guys say.
Every day for a year straight, you'd add about 2 pounds of extra muscle. If you started taking steroids at a normal bodybuilding dose, you'd probably add about 20 pounds of extra muscle that year. But it could be more depending on your genetics and how much you take. I'm a lifetime natural bodybuilder, and these are my testosterone levels right now. 485 nanograms per deciliter. That's
I don't know what that means.
Of the normal range for someone my age. This
hold up.
5 nanograms per deciliter. That's right around the middle of...
By the way, guys, I don't know why I'm like reviewing this shit like in such a intense manner. Like I'm just a random guy, but anyways, let's have a look. Okay, so the normal range is like 400 to 600, and over 1,000, I guess, wouldn't be considered the normal range. Oh, Mount Sinai Hospital. My brother was born at that hospital.
The normal range for someone my age. This is bodybuilder Chase Irons, the world's most honest, enhanced bodybuilder. He also had blood work done this month. Where do you think his testosterone levels are? Maybe double mine? Triple mine? Nope.
I want to say 5 times the amount.
Levels are literally off the charts. The test maxes out at 10,000 nanograms per deciliter.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Was higher than that. He openly admits to taking a lot of gear, and this shows just how big the gap between natural and enhanced can get. More people are taking steroids now than ever before. Why is that? Well, I think it's because more and more fitness influencers are opening up about their anabolic use. In theory, this honesty is a good thing. That's because anyone watching would be able to adjust their own expectations for their goals. I
100% agree with this concept. You know, as someone who like, one of the other reasons why I don't engage in steroids is like, apart from scientific literature, which frankly is difficult to dissect through, as someone who's been, you know, who studied at like a more highly renowned like academic. I went to the University of Guelph. I'm not academically inclined. Like I'm not a very smart person, but and so with that being said, this guy reads up a lot on a peer-reviewed journal work. So these like these PhD students that do years of research sometimes into these things, they're peer-reviewed, meaning that and don't quote me on this, but meaning that like other colleagues that have also studied this for a very long time will review and criticize their work. That's the key, criticize their work to make sure that it's honest before it gets released. So when you read a peer-reviewed journal article, it's been reviewed not by, I wouldn't say by the general public, by people that are also like very, very heavily invested in the topic and have done a lot of research on it. So holy shit, this is getting very long.
They'd be able to lower their own standards and say, okay, well, now I know that result isn't achievable for me. But this kind of backfired. A lot of people didn't lower their expectations. They just started taking steroids.
Yeah, that's the fucking problem.
A lot of fitness influencers are only ever partially transparent. They say they're on steroids and they show their gains, but they rarely, if ever, show any of the bad stuff. So the only logical conclusion is that steroids are amazing. But that's misleading. So to help you understand exactly what happens to your body when you take steroids...
Oh, this is so fucking awesome.
And see what happens next. Good and bad. This is testosterone and anthate.
What?
One of the most common forms of steroids that people take. It's basically just a testosterone.
Is he actually going to do it?
A carboxyl group attached and dissolved in a vegetable oil so you can inject it. There's also some kind of aromatic compound like benzoyl benzoate in here, which prevents bacterial growth and helps the testosterone dissolve better. When you inject the needle into your muscle, a bubble of oil is squeezed in between the individual muscle fibers, which spreads out and forms this elongated shape.
This is so cool.
Make their way into the bloodstream over the course of several hours. There, enzymes called esterases cleave off that carboxyl group, and then the testosterone is carried by molecules called binding proteins to the muscle, where it enters a single muscle cell. Now its job is to make that muscle cell bigger. And if that's all that steroids did, that'd be sweet, and I'd be on them. But there's a lot more that happens. For one, your heart is also a muscle.
That's exactly, that guy said it perfectly. If that's all that it did, if it did what everybody expected it to do and nothing more, nothing less, then yeah, we'd all be fucking on them.
Thing happens there. The testosterone enters your heart cells and tells your DNA to make your heart bigger. Having a big heart sounds like a good thing, but it's really not. When your heart grows, especially one compartment called the left ventricle, the extra bulk actually makes it harder for your heart to squeeze and relax. This means your heart won't be able to pump blood as effectively, which increases your risk of heart failure. Now, I want to say, I'm not the health police. You can do whatever you want with your own body, and I've got no problem with people who enhance. But I want people to at least be
I'm getting
aware of
steroids.
exactly what you're doing and the full effect it has, good and bad. For example, not many people realize that steroids affect your brain. To explain this, I wanted to find someone with
I did not know that.
education and first-hand experience with steroids.
Okay, sorry. I know everybody knows who the fuck this is that's watching this and whatever, but like this guy is fucking amazing. I started watching some of his videos. He's making fun of like Kardashian workout videos and stuff. This guy is amazing. I like this guy a lot. Awesome. I mean, obviously he was gonna get it.
Want tap water or something? Got tap water.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay, Mike?
That just ruined my recording,
Yeah.
but welcome to the rice fields,
Steroids can cause many
motherfucker.
people really high levels of anxiety.
Okay, let's go back a little bit.
Did you hear me okay, Mike?
Yeah. Steroids can cause in many people really high levels of anxiety. It's dose dependent. It's also compound dependent.
I actually don't know if this guy has engaged in that, but I'm very curious to see.
Things like tren cause way more anxiety than other milder compounds like premone. So this is fun. I haven't admitted this yet, but it's not a particularly crazy admission.
Like, just looking at
this
him, I'd assume he's done it in the past, but I actually don't know as a fact.
Took a validated, empirically validated, scientifically based scale for anxiety. And actually, currently, right now, I have
Yeah,
severe
okay, he
anxiety
has.
disorder. It's probably the most severe type of anxiety disorder, short of like panic disorder. And that's actually right now, as I talk, that's what I have. And another one, also another psychological side effect. Some types of your intelligence degrade over time with steroid use. This was tested in people currently using steroids and people who used to use steroids. Most people are just totally unaware that steroids have that potential effect on IQ reduction. And since IQ or just intelligence is such a global quality that you probably want to hang on to most of it as much as you have, it's a real serious thing to trade off.
That tracks with the science. This 2021 study took 3D MRI scans of the brains of over
These are the
200
peer-reviewed
individuals.
journals that I was referring to earlier.
2021.
So, like, these are the people, I guess, that wrote it, but, like, and I'm assuming these people are, like, have doctorates within the field of, like, I don't know, nutrition or chemistry, but then, like, you know, not only did all these 6 people who, like, are super smart write it, but also it was, like, critiqued by other intelligent people.
One study took 3D MRI scans.
But these are so boring. Like, literally, like, read this. T1 weighted magnetic resonance imaging, 3D. I don't even know what the fuck they're saying here. Scans were obtained. I guess it's just a scan. Okay. Were obtained from male weightlifters with a history of prolonged AAS use, N equals 30. Like, this, I guess, is the norm. This N equals 100. Like, I studied statistics long back, but I didn't do well in school. So, or no AAS use, N equals 99. These are people that, like, use these we train machine learning models on combinations of regional brain volumes, cortical thickness, and surface area in an independent training set of 1838 healthy male subjects between 18 to 92 years of age and predicted brain age for each participant in our study. Results. AAS users had higher BAG compared with weightlifting control subjects, which was associated with dependency and longer history of use. Group differences in BAG could not be explained by other substance use, general cognitive abilities, or depression, while longitudinal analysis revealed no evidence of increased brain aging in the overall AAS group. Like, this is, you see, this is not...
Of the brains of over 200 weightlifters.
Anyways, he's going to explain it to us, but just reading as a layman, like, it's difficult to understand.
2021.
As
Let's
much
go
as you
back.
have.
Sorry,
serious
I
thing to
interrupted
trade off.
again.
That tracks with the science. This 2021 study took 3D MRI scans of
So he
the
took
brains
scans.
of over 200 weightlifters. About half of them were natty, the
Okay.
other half enhanced. The scans revealed that the lifters who took steroids had a significantly bigger brain age gap.
Okay, so that's
Meaning
what
that natural
the
brains
article was
brain
trying to
age
say.
matched their actual age. But the brains of the enhanced lifters looked much older than they should look for someone their age. Their brains were aging faster than they should be. And the psychology of steroids
That's
is
interesting.
fascinating. Most people take steroids because they want to look bigger and feel better about the way they look. And I get it. I want to look bigger and feel better too. And steroids will make you look bigger, but they might not help you feel any better about the way you look. They actually could make your body dysmorphia worse.
Yeah, very
As a lot
much.
of people think, if they just start enhancing, then they'll look how they want. But just because you take gear doesn't mean you're going to look like sebum. And then when you eventually come off, you'll quickly lose a good chunk of the size that you put on and feel smaller than ever. At that point, it becomes near impossible not to go back on, take even more steroids, and the cycle continues.
When I was referring to like me being worried about my mood, like fluctuating, this is what I'm worried about. Like if I'm already somebody who has body dysmorphia, which like I do consider myself in that category, then you run the risk of that getting enhanced. And that's scary to me.
Again, that wouldn't really be a problem if steroids didn't impact pretty much every system in your body. But they do. After you inject, some of that testosterone is converted into a hormone called DHT, which causes hair follicles to shrink faster. This is why so many bodybuilders are bald in their 20s. Some testosterone is also
I didn't know that.
estrogen, which can increase breast tissue formation in men, leading to soft, puffy nipples, also known as gyno. The most reliable way to get...
Logan Paul has a people were saying that he has that, especially in his last fight with KSI, was it? I don't remember. Anyways,
gyno is surgery.
Like if you look at Logan Paul's nipples during the fight, not that I was like particularly staring, but like I did happen to notice. It seems like that's, I don't know, gyno. It looks like it, but obviously I wouldn't know. What do I know?
While most people will take other drugs to prevent that conversion to estrogen, almost every bodybuilder you know has had to deal with gyno at some point. Injecting testosterone also lets your testicles know that there's more than enough testosterone to go around, so they shrink to about 1/2 of their usual size. The shrinkage quickly shuts down your body's natural ability to make its own testosterone, which is why some people need to inject testosterone for the rest of their life. Steroids also make sebaceous glands on your skin grow bigger, which causes them to overproduce a sticky, oily substance called sebum. Sebum moisturizes and protects your skin in normal amounts, but causes acne when overproduced. Steroid users will try to combat this by taking other drugs for acne treatment, but then they have their own side effects.
What would be a side effect that most people like wouldn't be aware of until you've kind of done it?
Yeah, it's a good question. There are a few of those I could think of. Because anabolic steroids are mostly gotten in, at least the United States and Canada, through underground laboratories, some of the gear you get is like they have your pharma grade.
Oh,
It goes
right.
in
That's
smooth as
another
butter,
problem.
Never does anything, no inflammation. Some of the gear goes in there, and boy, does it mess you up. And I have been personally hospitalized at least once for a non-infected but insanely immune responsive abscess. My quad was like 1/2 foot out to one side. I've had friends get hospitalized for abscesses. The doctors have to cut your skin open. They have to drain it. And lastly,
That's
it's not roid
crazy.
rage, but it's really aggression. And it very infrequently displays itself as actual violent acts, but the thoughts you get on steroids
Yeah.
are disturbing. You might like war movies and stuff, but if there's a war movie playing in your head every single second you're awake and asleep, it gets a little old after a while. But you have big muscles, so I guess that's cool. So that's how the cookie crumbles.
Let me get a second opinion on that.
This guy's a fucking godsend, bro. Whoever is in the health industry and wants to know anything about steroids and isn't watching this guy, more plates and more dates, Derek. He did back in the day. He was one of the very few people that you could listen to. This guy, my brother, studied. He's a pharmacist now. He studied pharmacology both in grad school and in post-grad. This guy knows 5 times as much as my brother in terms of chemistry and pharmacology. He is so intelligent, and he just looks like your average fucking gym bro. The way he talks too, it's part of his appeal. Oh, I love this guy so much. They're all awesome, frankly. Dr. Mike kind of has a similar vibe.
Hello.
And also, his background, nobody knows where he films. Actually, I'm sure people know, but like I still don't know to this day because I don't want to spoil it. But like, For some odd reason, he always has this fucking thing. I don't know what it is. I forgot. I think it was a radio or something. I think it's like a rundown sauna or something in the basement of his house. He's always filming with that background. I love this guy so much.
A pretty common reported anecdote is feeling like you just hit puberty again.
Oh, and also this guy has taken steroids. So this guy was the one who took steroids and openly said he took steroids. And during the time when like steroids weren't a big thing, this guy took steroids, would openly say he took steroids, and then would openly give to the best of his ability unbiased advice on, and he wouldn't tell you do it or don't do it. He'd just show you the facts and tell you, look, this is what happens, this is what can happen, the choice is yours, you're an adult, assuming for those watching it, obviously, which there was that South Park episode where obviously there are a lot of kids on this fucking platform, YouTube, I mean. But anyways, very, very, like, he's amazing. He's just amazing.
For the first, like, 6 to 8 weeks, it literally feels like you're 16 years old again.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's probably not a good thing overall, because you're now an adult with the like libido of a raging 16-year-old, and you have responsibilities and things to keep up with, and all you can think about is your perpetually erect penis, basically. It's just not ideal.
That's interesting.
Increased probability of injury. This is sometimes talked about when your strength is skyrocketing. Your connective tissue cannot maintain the pace of your muscular strength, and often this will lead to unnecessary injury in the gym, because, you know, if your bench goes up 50 pounds in 6 weeks, like, you're not...
Yeah, that's fucking
typically
insane.
You're not going to, like, hold back. You're going to keep pushing because this weight feels like a feather now. You're going to, you know, go as far as it can take you. But your connective tissue is not keeping up with that pace, and this, you'll see often bodybuilders that end up with brutal injuries.
It's hard to say how much steroids shorten your lifespan, but they definitely do. One 2024 paper followed over 1,000 steroid users for 11 years with an average age of 27. During the same time frame, they also followed 60,000 people of the same age, but not on steroids. 2.8% of the steroid users had died by the follow-up, while only 1% of the non-steroid users had died. That's a lot of excess deaths, which led the authors to note that the excess death rate in this young adult population is striking. Of course, this depends on the dose that you're taking.
I think what a lot of people think is, I'm not going to go crazy with the juice. Like, I'm just going to do a little, like, sports TRT or whatever, like 150, 200 milligrams a week. How do you feel about that?
I think the word TRT is very conflated with, like, baby cycle, essentially, at this point. When you're on TRT, even if it looks on paper like a normal total testosterone, it is not representative of what you could do naturally. So even if you're on, like, you know, low-dose TRT, on paper, you could define it as such, but it's certainly like you're essentially on mini enhancement territory perpetually, which I'm not to say that that's bad, because that's almost like the boat I fall into myself, essentially. It's just a matter of managing the risk to reward on it, and if you feel it is worthwhile for yourself, considerate of all of the factors that underlie it.
Would you say there is a healthy way to use steroids?
So everything is a spectrum in this case. So they're healthier and less healthy.
I think that there is like sorry, I know nobody fucking asked me, but I do think that there is a healthy way to use these substances. Personally, let's see what the experts have to say though.
And if you want to use steroids in a healthier way, then what you're going to do is start with very small amounts of them, check your blood work, do various heart scans.
So that's the thing. Perfect. I was gonna mention this check your blood work over here. Like, if anybody's ever gonna do it, not that I've ever done it, but the one thing that I hear a lot of these people that have done it right, I guess right is a poor choice of words, but like, you have to check your blood work, especially at the beginning, I think almost weekly, because you don't know what your body's doing inside of you that you can't see while you're taking these things. So if I don't have the money or the patience to go get my blood work checked, that's one of the things that's stopping me. Like, if I would ever engage in these kinds of products, I would want to have a regimen set up where I'm monitoring as much as I can. because my body is changing internally without me realizing, and the only way to check that are through certain scans, certain blood work tests, and you have to do those frequently, especially at the beginning, because you're shocking your body with this new product, if you will.
And procedure. Consult with a professional coach who does this for a living.
That's also a difficult thing, because consulting with a professional coach doesn't mean your doctor. Honestly, like, because if you go to your regular doctor, at least in Canada, your family doctor or something like that, they're just going to tell you don't do it. Forget about it. Just like, don't do it, you know? The only time I think a doctor would, the only time that I know that I've seen a doctor recommend a test is, I know this one person who was like battling depression, and like, it was a very unique case. Like, any doctor worth their salt is going to tell you like not to engage in these things. It's just the risk reward. It's all about the risk reward, and because obviously a lot of doctors in our country are so knowledgeable of the body, they're just going to be like, why would you shoot yourself in the foot like this?
Have a medical doctor on.
So you see, he put both of them, consult with a professional coach and have a medical doctor available. This is too much stuff. The normal person doesn't have access to all these things. I don't have access to all of these things, at least not easily.
Every several months or twice a year blood work. You check your blood pressure all the time.
If I was like fucking The Rock, then of course I would do this, no problem. Although even The Rock, when he started out, he wasn't like doing all of this. He was taking a risk. But if I had The Rock's money and The Rock's medical team, that would be an example of me going like, let's fucking do it. Let's go, boys.
You cycle properly, coming on and off. You take as little gear as will accomplish the effect you're interested in. If you do that, you can definitely do it healthier than not. But, you know, there are ways to race a car and design a race car and design the suit and the crumple zones to make it safer. But as soon as you pass 200 miles an hour, safer is the term. It's not safe. It was never safe. And so steroid use is less safe almost always than not taking steroids, but you can make it very, very safe, or you can make it...
I think that's what he said, steroids is less safe. Like, I think like the minimal 0.01%, and that's just a number I'm pulling out of my ass. Like, it's safe when like, usually it's a matter of like, for whatever reason, I wouldn't even know what kind of like scenario to come up with. But if it was a matter of life and death, if you were like, or if you just medically have low T, then like, I guess like the doctor might prescribe it, but not this cycle and not indefinitely.
Well, nice, risky. The real big decision is on how you approach it.
I notice people at like a really young age coming up to me and being like, hey, like I might hop on, like, you know, I've been training for a while now, like teenagers. Do you have like an age in mind where it's like, this is where...
I kind of want to answer this question, but...
even like consider it, and before that, just figure out your training and diet.
Yeah, there's a couple things that go into that. One is some kinds of steroids close your growth plates early, and that means they'll prevent you from reaching an adult height. Some men don't stop growing until they're 22 years old. And if you start taking it when you're 16, you're probably going to be a short king for much longer than you anticipate. Well, actually, a shorter king than you ended up should have become with your genetics. And you know, to almost the same group of people to whom jacked lifestyle is important, being as tall as possible is also important, seemingly. Another thing is the brain develops in very, very high-level ways, well into your late 20s, and in subtle ways through your entire lifespan. And so until about your mid-20s, I would say there's a high probability that steroids will stunt your brain development to a significant extent. And so I would say my cutoff age generally, as the conversation for responsible medically supervised steroid use for serious goals by a serious individual, begins at age 25.
The answer I usually give is like get at least 10 years of natural training under your belt, because...
That's okay. That's what I was going to say. Age isn't the only thing that matters. I think the other thing that matters, and it's crazy the number he just put out here, because if I were to answer the question, I would have said at the very least, you do 3 years of natural bodybuilding, like, but before you even touch anything, because like you're gonna go through newbie gains and stuff like that. There's no reason someone who's never been in the gym for more than 3 years should even touch steroids, in my opinion. But these guys are saying 10 years, which is interesting. 10 years is a long time. That's a tenth of your life or less for most people. The thing is, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
You'll have figured out what works for your body, and then from there, you know, you'll also by default be...
Mind you, 10 is a good number. 10 is like super, super safe, and because you're dealing with a product that can literally like F you up for the rest of your life, I would, you know, listen to these guys, and if they say 10 years, then it should be at least 10 years. If anybody would know, it's these guys.
At least in your like mid-20s, you know, most people don't start lifting.
But I was gonna say 3 years. I was actually gonna say 2 to 3. So there you go. In terms of what I know,
they're at least, you know, in their mid-teens. So, you know, it kind of ticks both of those boxes. And so, yeah, I always encourage people. It's like, have you been training hard and smart for 10 years? If not, then I don't think it's decision time for you yet.
And I'll be honest, there have been several moments...
This guy is the epitome of play it safe, in my opinion, though. I don't think this guy's ever going to touch them. I think he looks great because he's been studying this natural... I don't know how long he's been doing this, but, like, he's been doing it a lot.
in my own bodybuilding career when enhancing has been very tempting. Even now.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure this guy has been very, very tempted because this guy more or less plateaued. The gains that this guy is getting now are just like, they're so small.
Especially with the fitness standards increasing rapidly and more fitness.
And he knows how to manipulate his body very well. Like, he knows how to go back and forth. He's done experiments on himself.
And I think the standards have shifted so much since, you know, we started out. Like 6 years ago, like, I was in the natty or not conversation as a physique that's like almost too good. And now six years later, it's like you're the guy who doesn't lift but knows, you know.
Yeah.
Enhancing, I've decided to do something different. I keep thinking maybe I've reached my natural limit for muscle growth, but have I actually? Am I actually at my natty limit, or have I just not been training as hard and smart as I could be? I wasn't going to reveal this, but this year I'm doing an experiment with McMaster University here in Canada.
That's awesome.
How much muscle it's possible for me to build naturally this deep into my lifting journey. If I do everything perfectly, can I still make gains naturally? So for this entire year, I've been doing everything 100% perfectly in the gym. I'm tracking every single set, taking the last set of every exercise to true technical failure. I'm not skipping any sets or any workouts. I'm also committing 100% to my diet. I haven't missed a single day tracking in macro factor, and I've hit my calorie and protein goal every single day.
This guy goes...
my full results at the end of this year, but I can say that I've definitely made some solid gains already. This doesn't always show up as well on camera, but I've gotten more compliments about having put on some solid size at my local gym than I've gotten in years. But similar to me, what happens to a lot of guys is that they think they're at their natty limit and only steroids will help.
Yeah.
In reality, they're probably just...
I've had that thought like 100 times over my journey.
Being as diligent with their training and nutrition as they could be.
For me, that's what it is. I just haven't been as diligent with my training.
Not dial that.
That's literally what it is, though. Like, I just, the thoughts come in, but like at the end of the day, realistically, it's just you haven't given enough attention and detail to
100%
what you're doing.
Then you can make that decision. That's how I feel anyway. And if you want to commit and join me on a year-long journey to truly dedicated lifting and eating, consider downloading my nutrition app, MacroFactor. You can try it for 2 weeks for free to see if you like it first, and it's really like having me as your own personal nutrition coach, but for a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost. We're about to hit 150,000 monthly users, which is pretty crazy, and we've gathered some incredible transformations from users of the app. Unlike other diet apps, MacroFactor is easy, and we've gathered some incredible We're about to hit 150,000 monthly users, which is pretty crazy, and we've gathered some...
That's insane, bro. I imagine, like, the lighting, like, in this picture is, like, really, really on point.
Incredible transformation.
That seems more realistic to me. This seems like... What? This seems very
users of the app. Unlike other diet apps,
interesting.
science-based algorithms to tailor your calories and macros to your metabolism specifically. All you need to do is track your food and your weight, and
it's got cinnamon toast crunch
each week. So I'll put a link to the free trial.
I think that's the Dollarama version.
Food and your weight, and the app will automatically
Is this guy eating dollar store cinnamon toast crunch?
So
I don't know.
The free trial in the description box down below if you guys want to get started with me. And that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys all here in the next one.
I think this is a video where like it kind of just what's the word? Solidifies the thoughts that people like me who like obviously maybe have like, you know, wanted to dip their toe in the pool but like don't do it for like the good reasons. This solidifies the good reasons of why not to do it for someone like me. And so anyways, as soon as I saw this video, I was very, very hyped to watch it because first of all, the people in the video are like masters of their craft, if you will. And yeah, it was a good video. It was a good video. Anyways, this was interesting. I guess like for someone like me, it doesn't really, it's nothing new, I guess. But it is interesting, the brain stuff. I didn't know about the brain stuff, for example. And the other stuff, I don't know. I feel like I've just seen enough stuff and read enough signs. But for those of you that are new to this journey and like are younger, you know, listen to these people. They come from a very good place. They I know they're just social media influencers at the end of the day, to some, but like they're the best you're gonna get at this time, unless you know you have. I don't know what the rich people do, but like for those of you that like aren't rich, this is where these guys they're trying to give you the best advice for those that can't afford the best advice. That's my opinion, at least. Good video.